So again, we are trying to teach the rugby skills without saying that it's rugby. So we try and incorporate elements of rugby. So it starts off with stretches, warming up, jogging on the spot, high knees, very simple activities. And then we'll get children to use a balloon. Because again, trying to keep equipment costs as low as possible. And we do different things like we've got to throw the balloon in the air 3 times and catch it. Then we've got to throw the balloon in the air and run and jump as though we would in rugby as a up and under. Um,
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode right here on URF TV. I want to share a quote with you. Being healthy is a success that many people forget to celebrate. Now, that is going to be a very significant quote, especially with our next guest, a brilliant young man in Wales, and he's doing so many wonderful, amazing things in our community, especially with our young people. Help me welcome Nick Clement. Hi, Nick. Welcome to the show.
yeah, you okay?
I'm well. I'm well. So happy to see you. What does that quote say to you? Because it's such a mission for you as founder of CHAM, which we're going to hear more about, getting kids moving, making it important for everyone to understand body movement and getting up and getting going. You don't have to be a pro athlete, you don't have to be in proper training, but just movement is so special. So tell us why that is important to you.
Yeah, so important. I think at the minute we're battling a perfect storm. So we have the use of technology, the cost of living crisis, underfunded schools, less time for space and play, and academic pressure, squeezing movement out of the day. So I think more than ever, movement is extremely important.
And you can do it in such little ways. Even if you have an office job, what are some tips that you would give folks to take care of themselves if they're sitting most of the day?
Breathing. So I absolutely love mindfulness, and it's something I used to do with my company. So deep breathing in through nose, 3 seconds and out. But just simple stretches and just to move. I've got one of those smartwatches that tells me every now and again I need to get up and move. So it's just doing that, taking those breaks every half an hour or so, stretch, move around.
I like that. I mentioned CHAM. That is, you founded this brilliant notion of how we can keep ourselves, and especially it starts when we're young, right? It's a pattern. It is a dedication to this. Tell us exactly what CHAM stands for, what it means, and why did you find this so important to create?
So before CHAM, there was CHI, which is Confident, Healthy Individuals. It was focused on holistic education in schools. So we would teach fun themes, but we would teach cognitive brain therapy and mindfulness, confidence building, all through movement and drama. And then I realized there was a massive need, particularly in schools and with young children, as you just mentioned, for movement. As I said about the cost of living crisis, underfunded schools, and technology coming in, there's a huge need to get children moving more, to improve their physical literacy, improve their physical development. So we created a community interest company with a slight twist on Chi called CHAM, Confident, Healthy, Active Me. And it's all about getting children moving in a variety of different ways. So we do active assemblies, sports camps, working with Wales Rugby League, and we've got a variety of other different projects that we have that just involves getting children and families moving.
It's so important. And I think a lot of us take it for granted, especially when we're kids. We don't really realize the value. And we've got so much energy anyway when we're kids. I mean, I remember being upset when I had to take a nap or come in from playing outside. Now I would love to do both anytime, you know? So, how do you continue to make it fun for these kids? It's not, because I know PE class can sometimes feel like a task, especially as when we're a little bit older in junior high school and high school, but you really keep it fun. How do you keep it innovative?
Yeah, I think you see two different types of people: people who loved PE and people who absolutely despise it. And I think it's because we've pitched it at the wrong level. So for us, we're all about inclusion. So we'll often use beach balls, balloons, so that children possibly with poor hand-eye coordination can still participate in the sport. So we try to make it not as competitive, and more inclusion-based, and allowing children to use resources in a different way that suits their skill level.
That is it. That is really interesting and so smart because I think it also, whether they know it or not at those young ages, it's giving them so much more to pull from in terms of mentally finding something that engages them but also keeps them moving. It also has to build confidence, yeah?
Yeah, completely. And that's what we're trying to get across is that it's building the confidence first before competence. And it's up to them then if they want to improve and go onto the beach ball instead of the balloon. And there's the progression steps. So you can
Hmm.
challenge yourself at your own pace.
How have you seen the response from these kids, and have you specifically seen, like, if you can think of one child that maybe you saw that was a little bit shy in the beginning, or you could tell didn't have the confidence, and then going through the program, you see them really growing?
Oh, we have so many. We'll go with 2 year olds because we know 2 year olds can be emotional. So we
Yes.
had a 2 year old recently that was involved in one of our stay and play sessions, very anxious, not confident at all, crying, coming into the session, really didn't want to be there. All of a sudden, picked up a balloon, started playing with the balloon, doing some of the rugby skills that we were doing with them, all skill based. And by the end, then he said to I think his nan that I might have brought him, "Oh, I loved that. I really enjoyed it. I don't want to go home." And then he was crying because he wanted to carry on.
Oh, I
So
love
yeah,
it.
we see things like that all the time where it's they've gone from this very anxious underconfident child to absolutely loving it by the end of just a 30-minute session.
Oh my gosh. And that must fill your soul to see it, because that's why you're here. That's why you started this.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly why. It's participation in sport is what we're after. You know, we're not here to build elite athletes. It's let's get as many children as we can involved with sports, whether we call it rugby or whether it's playing with a balloon. It's just getting them moving.
So, discuss specifically how the sport of rugby is gaining more traction and interest in CHAM.
So we partnered with Wales Rugby League. I didn't know this at the time, but rugby league is not in any primary schools. I thought there might have been a version of rugby league. So as soon as I heard that, I thought, oh, there's a massive need for in schools anyway because we need to develop our rugby skills. Wales are going through a really bad period at the minute with our national team, and just thought the simplicity of rugby league fitted schools better than it does rugby union. So the idea
Interesting.
is that we're going to start non-contact tag touch rugby, more likely tag rugby, to build confidence first, make it very inclusive, like we said, so it's non-competitive, make it feel safe and make it fun to begin with, and then move on to tackling when the children are a little bit older. So our kind of year six, year seven, going into secondary schools.
What support do parents need, or are you finding, do you have to explain the importance to parents in terms of getting their kids more mobile and active in sport? Does that seem to be a challenge, or is it an easy sell?
No, I think we're in a bit of a pandemic currently because we have the use of technology.
Hmm.
I'm not blaming parents on this at all, but with parents working more, it is very easy to give a child a device and they can be very quiet, but that's having a massive detriment effect on their ability to play and obviously develop their physical literacy skills. And we're also seeing schools taking away or cancelling PE sessions, taking away break times because of the academic pressure that they're under as well. So it's trying to get the message across to parents the importance of physical literacy, of movement, and to try and steer away from the tablets and technology whenever possible. Um, and I think we're still quite far off how we do that currently.
I agree with you. I get annoyed with adults when I'm at dinner and I see a table of a family and everyone's on their phone. Can we please just be present? Can we please just be there and have a conversation? And, I love what you said at the top of this interview when you said you've always been appreciative and engaged with mindfulness. Young kids don't understand it now, but parents surely do. The importance of taking a beat, the importance of breathing, the importance of just bringing yourself back to the present. And that's a skill set because we are so distracted by so many things. So, how do you get those devices out of the kids' hands and get their feet moving? What's the trick?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, I think, isn't it? It's being present. It's for the parents to understand the actual damaging effects that it does. And I know you think that we should be at that point now, where we should really understand what the damaging effects is having. But then as adults, we are doing the same thing. We'll be scrolling, and all of a sudden an hour or two would go past. So it's trying to educate parents to understand that if this continues, then there are going to be these issues. Whereas if you look at the physical literacy and the research that's behind physical literacy and say, look, if you do this instead, this is the end outcome you will have. So improved behavior, improved attention, improved confidence, or you can have a child who's going to continue on their devices and have temper tantrums, arguments, the list goes on.
Yeah, and the community aspect is so valuable when you're playing sport. Even if it's an individual sport, you still have to communicate with an opponent. You still have to be part of the tradition of whatever the referee's job is, or you're not just by yourself. There are rules around even individual sport, but the community aspect of this, of CHAM, of getting kids moving and getting kids interested in sport, there's so much value in that too, because what we've seen in technology, kids don't know how to communicate even with each other because they're just used to being on their phones or on a tablet.
Yeah, completely with social skills. So one of the big things that I want to do with Wales Rugby League is create a festival. So
Hmm.
the idea is that we would like to turn rugby, especially rugby league in primary schools, into a live golf type of event. So we have blasting music, all the children are wearing colourful jerseys, they've all got their own mascot, all the parents are there, it's fully inclusive. So it becomes this large community event. So
Mm.
we've got one planned for early summer in Neath Talbot, our local county, and we're hoping that we can eventually then see that in all the counties in Wales. So with the Origin teams, the Wales Rugby Origin teams, they all host their own festival of rugby, which would be amazing to get all the different communities together.
That sounds like a blast. I want to go. I want to play. That sounds awesome. So I know you're probably still in the, as you said, it's coming in the summer. You're still probably in the planning stages, but is there a way that anyone watching or listening can support you or be part of that? Or if they live in your area or close by, they can be part of this?
Yeah, we're really struggling with funding. So We we are in a catch-22 because we have funders who are saying that schools need to be able to fund this themselves. Schools then saying they haven't got any kind of budget to fund it themselves. So we are kind of stuck in the middle. We've
Mm.
got this massive need where we've contacted one county and 25 schools were on board and wanted us to come in straight away. But because we have no funding in place to start this, to get this launched, we are really struggling because, as I said, there's nobody that really wants to fund us. So it's just helping us get that message out there, retweeting what we're doing on Instagram. Same thing with LinkedIn, just pushing and pushing so that the WIU maybe take notice and get some funding to us.
Well, anyone listening and watching, please do take note of this and you can help be part of something very, very special. And it's such a bummer, when money gets cut or when money's tight. This is such an important aspect of life that doesn't get the chance to grow and flourish. Just the active body, the active lifestyle. I love how you call it physical literacy. I love that term. I hadn't heard it said that way before, but it's true. So I really hope that you get the funding that you need, and I hope that it floods in and you don't even know what to do with all the funding because you've got too much. I hope that really
Yeah, fingers
happens.
crossed. That's the plan.
Absolutely.
That's the idea.
Absolutely. So, being from Wales, if you don't mind me taking you down this road, I know it's a tough conversation at this point, but what are your overall views of the administration and how things are going in Wales rugby these days?
So I'm not an expert on the WIU at all. I just know that from the outside, it's clear that trust has been damaged, and rebuilding starts with transparency and visible investment. Um, I think from what I'm hearing from the public is that people just want plan they can trust and the transparency in the plan. So there's a clear plan, clear targets, clear reporting, and then decisions that are there visibly to protect the grassroots more than ever. We went through a very golden era of rugby and we were very fortunate. But I think funding hasn't been spent well during that period, and we're now seeing the damaging effects of that.
Growing up in that part of the world where rugby is so tethered to the community and to the lifestyle, how has it been part of your life? Did you play rugby?
Yeah, so I played rugby quite a bit when I was in school. I went to school in Ystalyfera, so Swansea Valley, quite far away from Neath Talbot, where I was from. And yeah, rugby was life there in the valleys. Football was starting to creep in when I was a bit younger, but now we're starting to see football become more prevalent, really, than rugby, which is quite sad.
Yeah, especially being from that part of the world where it's so prominent. Being from the US, helping grow rugby is such a joy of mine. I love telling people about the sport. I love introducing them to the culture. I said, you might not be able to understand the game straight away because there are so many intricate moving parts, but you will understand the culture immediately. In what ways being part of a rugby community and now looking at CHAM and all the work that you've done, how do you see those two connected because of your time in rugby, being a teammate, being part of something bigger than yourself? How did that help you make CHAM a success and a continued success?
Well, I think we're seeing a big argument that's currently happening with our regional teams. So we've got the issue with the Ospreys, which might get lost. So that is Swansea, Neath, Talbot, and a little bit of Bridgend as well. So they do unbelievable work within the community, whereby they visit schools, give kids that kind of wow moment of meeting a player, getting a photo, seeing someone from their area, seeing for them to be taking sport seriously. So if if the Ospreys gets removed, then I've got a real horrible feeling that it's not just the performance on a Saturday is gonna cause damage to the community. We're gonna lose local identity and pride. School engagement and role modeling is going to drop as well, and more importantly, the link between children and clubs.
How do we get that trust back? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, so with the Wales Rugby League, we've looked at how can we create a kind of player pathway from the age of 2, which we've already started, all the way up to secondary school and further, with the origin clubs such as the Aberafon Fighting Irish, and it all comes back to just getting children moving again. You know, as I said earlier, playing with balloons, developing rugby skills before they understand what rugby skills are. So if you've got children from a very young age involved with rugby, and then their parents are getting involved with rugby because their children like rugby, and then they watch it on TV or they go to a match to go and watch it as well. All of a sudden, then you're getting the revenue that's coming in that's needed for these region teams, for these communities to get rugby to thrive again. So I think it has to start from the bottom and has to start with our youngest children.
Completely agree. They really are the future, and especially when you set them up for success and they don't feel like they're in and on the journey by themselves and they feel supported. There's so much to be said for all of that. What is your greatest accomplishment to date? If you look back and you choose one accomplishment, or you can have a couple, what is that?
That's a tough question. So it's not rugby related. Something I absolutely love that we do is active assemblies. So we go into a school and sometimes we'll have 150 plus children at a time doing an activity of some kind. And it's usually moderate to vigorous activity. So it's usually hit cardio where we increase the children's heart rate to near maximum 80, 85%. Because again, we know in schools they're not having that experience. So I think it's been about 1,500 plus children we've done in the first year. So we're hoping that we can increase that to 10,000 possibly. Again, comes back to funding, isn't it? But I'm really, really proud to say that we've been able to support 1,500 plus children to get active. And more importantly, the moderate to vigorous exercise, which we know how important it is.
That is awesome. And I know those numbers are going to continue to grow. And what adults need to recognize is the more active your kids are, more tired they're going to be at the end of the day and they're going to go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The
It's so
less
win-win.
anxious they be, yeah, the more tired they be, yeah, the better they'd sleep.
Yeah.
It's so important, isn't it? And it's just trying to get that message across.
Absolutely. And again, to start them young, there's so much value in that because as we get older and time gets slower and time gets busier, and when you're working or if you have a family, we tend to not take care of ourselves as well. And when we can adopt this as children, and then even adults, parents can do this with their children. That's also something that's very fun. We can be active with the kids. What are some opportunities that you've taken as you've met parents? that maybe you've presented to the parents, like, hey, you can keep this going at home? Is that something that you are able to offer?
Yeah, so we're going to be working with, we've nearly finished working with 70 nurseries. They call Flying Start areas, so they're free childcare in underprivileged areas. So we've worked with thousands, it must be now, families this year, because CHAM's only been going for a year. And we give the parents a take-home pack. So we give them resources, balloons and beach balls, as I've just mentioned, so that they can play at home with their children, but we show the progression steps of the different things they can do, whether it's sit down volleyball, whether it's kick ups, a variety of different activities. Again, just to get the children off the technology and doing something a little bit more fun, but more importantly, improves their coordination and gross motor skills.
Hmm. It is so, this is so special. And I don't want people listening and watching to miss the fact that, I've heard so much success and your numbers sound great and you've only been at this for a year. That's impressive. I hope you recognize
Thank you.
how impressive that is. Absolutely. So, in what have you learned in this process, even about yourself? I mean, it's one thing when you have this tremendous idea and you get it going and you see it coming to life and you see these kids coming forward and you have some great stories like the 2-year-old you shared that went from crying to not wanting to be there to crying to not wanting to leave. When you take inventory of things like that, what's been a fun lesson for you that maybe you didn't expect? Because you're so busy trying to make other people's lives better, which is so wonderful. How's it pouring into your life?
Yeah, I think I can sum it up in a few words, which is movement is medicine. And I think
Mm.
as soon as we understand that movement is medicine for all ages, including myself, and I do forget sometimes as well, if you're not feeling it, you're thinking, oh, do I really want to go to the gym? And then I use my cognitive brain therapy strategies to get myself in the gym. But we've seen it with older children, younger children, the difference before movement and after. So again, very quick example with our sports camp, ran one last week. Again, we were having children coming in lacking confidence, argumentative, emotional, tired, and by the end they were different children, and it only took 3 days to kind of turn those children around. And as you said earlier, they were tired, so therefore they weren't argumentative, and they were in their own zone when they were playing. And it's so funny to see that transformation before your eyes, and then you forget to apply it to yourself, actually. So, yeah, it's maybe to reflect myself and think, actually, yeah, I need to be more active as well as being active with the children.
I like saying the work works. Any mental health
Yeah.
training that we do, any physical training that we do, the work works. So it takes longer than some of us want, especially me. I'm a bit impatient. I want to run around the block and come back with a six pack. Come on, that's not too much to ask. But I think when you stay steady and you make it a part of your daily routine, it can be, you're going to have days like you said you're not feeling it. I don't want to go to the gym. But when you push through, there's an extra confidence that comes with, I did get to the gym today. I may not have been at 100%, but I got there and I was at 85, 90%, which is huge. Just getting out of your house is a win.
It's consistency that builds a habit eventually, isn't it? So the cognitive brain therapy trick that I do is I say to myself, "Oh, I'm only going to go to the gym for 20 minutes," and I know deep down that that's not going to happen. So when you're there, you end up doing an hour or 45 minutes or whatever it is, isn't it? So it's just little tricks like that that you need to do. Yeah, doing something is better than doing nothing.
Absolutely. That's a great trick. What are some other tricks that you may have for us that we could share with young people, that we could do ourselves? What are some other things we can employ in our own lives?
I think one of them, I think it was Mel Robbins.
Hmm.
Her trick is the 5 4 3 2 1 getting out of bed, isn't it? Because that again is so important because we've got a phone right next to us, we've got the TV, and it's very easy just to sit there. So it's countdown for 5 4 3 2 1, and by the time you get to one, you're on your feet. So you're tricking your brain into not even thinking about sleeping and staying in bed because you've got that battle going on with, oh, it's nice and cozy and warm, it's raining outside, stay in bed for a little bit longer. You've got to combat that and just 5 4 3 2 1, up you get.
Hmm. I love that. So let's go back to CHAM a little bit because we talked about getting kids moving and making things more interesting and fun and challenging their brains and all the cool things that come with being active. I love the active assemblies. Those sound so special. Do you have any type of And I know you have them, it's harder to do with younger kids just by virtue of attention spans, but do you have any sport courses or anything that you do to teach on the academic side when it comes to CHAM?
Yeah, so we've created a project called Move Able. So we take settings, as I previously mentioned, like fry and start settings and nursery settings, and give these settings a load of different um, activities that they can do and they can cherry pick themselves to incorporate into their curriculum. So we could be looking at transition times, so from carpet to lining up or whatever it might be, how they can crawl like a bear or lay on their bellies and wriggle around. We have movement stories. So again, people will say to us, "Oh, we don't have much space. We haven't got a hall." So we've created these very short literacy stories whereby the practitioner reads out the story, carries out the action at the end of reading just a small paragraph, and then the children copy as well. So we've got, when in partnership with Wales Rugby Leagues, we've got My First Rugby Match, and we've got, I think, another 8 or 9 different themes of the different stories that they can do. So if you needed something, 10, 15 minutes and you wanted children to move because they've been on the carpet so long and you haven't got much space, it's simply reading this story and then the children need to copy. And we've been very clever with the type of movements that we've included. So we know that it'll improve fine motor, gross motor, and hand-eye coordination as well. And it's with no equipment. So there's no excuse to say, oh, I haven't got this, I haven't got that. It's all you need is the story in front of you and children to copy you.
That's awesome. So tell me the story of my first rugby match.
So it again, we are trying to teach the rugby skills without saying that it's rugby. So we're trying to incorporate elements of rugby. So it starts off with stretches, warming up, jogging on the spot, high knees, very simple activities. And then we'll get children to use a balloon. Because again, trying to keep equipment costs as low as possible. And we do different things like we've got to throw the balloon in the air 3 times and catch it. Then we've got to throw the balloon in the air and run and jump as though we would in rugby as a up and under. Same with passing, find somebody. So we've done this with families in our stay and play sessions. And it's getting them used to, just sideways passing with the balloon. And then if they're good, we do the same thing with a beach ball, trying to get it that way. And the same with kicking. So we'll put the balloon or a beach ball on a little cone and practice that little step up and using the correct technique of, left foot before the cone or to the side of the cone, and then kick in and trying to kick it as high as you can. And then we do so the same thing with laying down, putting the balloon in the air, and they've got to kick on their back and try and keep the balloon up. So it's just a mixture of lots of different exercises that are rugby related.
Perfect. That is so much fun. And kids love competition. I mean, we love competition too, but kids especially. I have a couple of nieces who are 12 and 10, and sometimes, they're at those ages where they still want to be helpful but on their own terms. So there'll be times where if they're hanging out with me at my place, I'll say, "Hey, can you guys help me take out the trash? I've got more than one bag. It'd be great to have your help." "Oh, but Auntie Stacy," and I'm like, "Okay, fine. I can do it faster and better anyway." Like I'll just, I'll throw that at them and I'm like, I'm gonna get there first anyway. And then all of a sudden they're like, "No, we can beat you." So it's, those fun things that you can do to keep kids engaged and turn it into a fun competition. And that also teaches them those skills because after we were done and after I beat them, no, I let them win. When we came back into the house, I said, "I just want you guys to know, first of all, that was so much fun. And thank you so much for helping me. And also, you didn't just help me take out the trash, but you honored our time together because that made me feel so special that you were willing to help me after we spent this whole weekend together and we made food together. So thank you for being part of my day that I don't really like either. And you guys made that part fun because I don't like taking out the trash." It's just, it can bring so many other things to life. And that's what sport does. And that's what activity does. And when we keep our bodies moving and as you've said multiple times, it's not just about the physical. It helps our mental. It helps our confidence. There's just so much value in it. And we live in a world, let's be honest, aside from just technology, people are just lazy. They don't want to have to do the work. They don't want to put any work in. And it really doesn't take long. Walking around the block on a beautiful sunny day, take your time, but get out, move your body. There's such high value in those things. And I think as a society, they're minimized. People feel like if I don't go to the gym for an hour, what's the point?
Yeah, I completely agree. As we said earlier, it's small steps first, isn't it? Build the habit slowly and just do what you need to do to make yourself feel better. If it starts off with just a 5 minute walk, as you said, around the block, and then the next day or the day after it could be a 20 minute, and it slowly builds up. Yeah, that's very true. The perception of healthy isn't CrossFit and being in the gym for 2 hours with massive muscles and protein shakes. It's just about getting out and doing what you feel comfortable with.
The quote that I read at the beginning of the interview, there's no name attached to it, of course, or I would have shared that, but being healthy is a success that many people forget to celebrate. When I found that quote, I'm like, wow. Yeah, if I have a good workout at the gym, I'm like, okay, I'm glad. I'm glad that I felt good today. That's excellent. I can celebrate that. But just being healthy every day is something to celebrate. That 5 minute walk around that block is something to celebrate. What does that quote say to you?
Yeah, it's to appreciate that we're able-bodied. So something that I've done before is a theme with children around Paralympics. So
Mm,
very similar to using balloons and beach balls again, but we take away the ability to use your arms and legs. And yeah, it makes children reflect and to have the gratitude. That's the word I was looking for. To think,
yes.
well, I am lucky enough to be able to do X, Y, Z, and therefore I should.
What a special individual you are. This program of CHAM that you founded, that you created, I hope you continue to get all the support that you need and then some, because your heart, your motivation, everything is in the right place. And when we operate out of that and operate out of integrity, and you're putting these young people in such a great position to win. First of all, thank you for what you do. It's much appreciated. It does not go unnoticed. And on those days that you might feel a bit behind or a bit deflated because things might not have gone your way, or maybe you didn't get the yes that you thought was coming, those yeses are coming because your heart's in the right place and you're doing the right thing. So super proud of you. Happy to share your story, Nick. And I just really hope that anyone and everyone watching and listening will just be able to reach out and support you, or know someone who can reach out and support you.
Ah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for being part of the show today. And here on URF, we always say fans first,
Rugby forever.
rugby forever. Thank you for teaching us some new skills and just opening our eyes to the importance of moving our bodies. Thanks again, Nick.
Thank you, Stacey.